So we want to continue the conversation on justice for Daunte Wright and the manslaughter trial of former police officer Kim Potter. BNC's chief legal correspondent, Laura McNeal, joins us right now. Laura, good of you to join us this hour. And here we go, another trial, another case, another young black man who is dead, unfortunately at the hands of police officers. Talk to me about what people will be watching very closely in this particular case against Kim Potter, who appears to have grabbed the wrong gun instead of a taser after yelling taser, taser, taser. And keep in mind that she was an officer, a 26-year veteran, who had instructed other officers on the use of tasers.
Yes, and so what we can expect is that, the big highlight of this trial, or what I think will be the deal breaker, is going to be hearing the actual testimony of Officer Kim Potter, hearing from her vantage point what happened that day. Now, it's going to be a really tough mountain for the prosecution to climb in establishing that this was not, although deadly, a very innocent mistake. And what I mean by that is it does really help Kim Potter's case, hearing in real time her yell taser, 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 as well as hearing her afterwards say, oh, expletive, I just shot him. And so in law, we call that an excited utterance, and that can weigh very heavily with the jury. And so the prosecution, if they want a guilty verdict, they're really going to have to convince the jury that although it may have been a mistake, it was unreasonable considering her experience. She's a veteran, she trains people, and based on what I've heard recently, and again, this hasn't been confirmed, she had recently received a refresher course on using the taser leading up to this incident. So tough challenge today for the prosecution.
A tough challenge for the prosecution, but for the defense, they will have to bring out those statements that you just made. Are you expecting the defense to actually go to the core of her showing what would be looked upon as immediate remorse for the actions or the misunderstanding of her firearm instead of a taser, and her showing remorse for that? Talk to me about that, what you expect from the defense.
Yes, I expect the defense to show the actual footage, some of the footage of her sobbing on the curbside after this had happened. And I think that, again, they're trying to establish this is instant remorse. This wasn't intentional. It definitely wasn't reckless. She honestly just made a mistake. But, that remorse is important for the jury to see, because so often, as we saw with the Derek Chauvin trial, there was no remorse. I mean, when George Floyd was being carried away into the ambulance, Derek Chauvin's disposition looked like it was just another day at the job. There was zero concern or empathy in his face, and that resonates with the jury. The jury needs to see her, again, in a human aspect, as one of their own, or one of them, one of their own community members, and that's what the defense is really going to weigh in on with respect to this opening statement today.
Yeah, in all likelihood, when you look at George Floyd, there's very little comparison here. 9 minutes and 26 seconds. Let us not forget that. And so many people pleading with Derek Chauvin to get your knee off his neck, and the repeated cry of George Floyd saying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. In this particular case, it's vastly different, a routine traffic stop. Laura, I'd like to bring in Atiba Madoun right now into the conversation to talk about what people on the outside looking in might be saying about this. Atiba Madoun, I should let you know, is BNC contributor and CEO of Party Politics. Atiba, it's not only what makes or what takes place inside the courtroom throughout the trial. The past couple of years, we've seen these events that have led up to and beyond these cases have been sewn into the fabric of our social conscience and social justice and racial justice and social influence across America. Black Lives Matter coming to mind in the wake of George Floyd, and then Breonna Taylor, and then the recent case of Ahmaud Arbery, where justice was rendered through predominantly an all-white juror with the sole exception of one black juror. Atiba, knowing that the jurors in this case are probably very aware of what took place in the Chauvin trial, which is in their own backyard, do you think it will have an impact on the jurors' decision as this case moves forward?
That's a good question, Kelly. Do I think it will? No. Do I hope it will? Yes. And I think that's the feeling that many of us are. I think even after, Derek Chauvin trial, that many of us were also disappointed what we just saw happen with Kyle Rittenhouse and the Kenosha piece. Too often I feel like our emotions get tied to this, and we're looking at this from a legal standpoint. I think that we also need to be looking at this. We've been hearing in Congress talk about qualified immunity. Police officers are getting off the hook way too often for killing us, and so in this case with Kim Potter, the question, and I think that people are talking about, is the fact that she pulled a gun. She thought it was a taser. She was doing a routine training with officers, and she killed this man who had not pulled a gun, did not show that he was threatening the officers. I'm assuming, was fearful of the fact that they said that there was a warrant out for his arrest. But when I was younger, I remember that people used to talk about police officers shooting the tires out of a car, not necessarily, or trying to maim a suspect, not necessarily killing. And these officers, it's just free for all on us. And we continue to see these images. And I think also we don't humanize enough the stories of the victims. You know, you started off talking about Daunte as being a father, you know, a young father, his family saying that he was very personable. But these are not the people that these officers see. These officers, in my opinion, continue to see us and target us as animals. And they threaten us. And these incidents are just happening way too often, and we've been talking about it far too long. Lastly, I'm just going to say, you know, watching King Richard the other day, and the image that they put up of Rodney King, and having the Audrey Ellis playing Orsi Williams say, well, at least they have it on camera. Well, we continue to see these things on camera, and we continue to see police officers get off the hook, and they're not charged. So you asked me, do I think that justice will be done? I don't think so, but do I hope so? Yes.
David, you raised some very valid points about the way that police officers and the way the public has often viewed black men. And I like the fact that you talked about Daunte Wright and bringing and highlighting this is a young man, 20 years old, had a child, and had parents. And in fact, when he got in that car, Laura, he was actually calling his mother. And so when you look at this case, here's a young man who has hopes and dreams, and he's trying to go out and achieve those things. Do you think that in this case, the defense of Kim Potter, will they try to mischaracterize this young man? Will they try to tarnish him, as we just recently saw in the Ahmaud Arbery case? And I don't want to remind viewers of that, but those defense attorneys were just outrageous in the way they try to pummel the character of Ahmaud Arbery, 25 years old, a man who's deceased and could not defend himself. But thank goodness the prosecutors did defend him, as well as his mother, who was very vocal, and his father, and of course, so many scores of black pastors in transformative justice. Is this the kind of case that will get to that level, do you think, Laura?
Yes, they've already tried to. So the defense has already tried to use that playbook move of victimizing the victim, which in this case is Daunte Wright. And essentially in some of the motions in limine, the preliminary motions, they were asking the judge if they could include previous criminal records history of Daunte Wright. And the judge in this case said no. She said it's not relevant to what happened that day. Daunte Wright is not on trial. She said the only way that evidence could be admitted is if Kim Potter knew at that time what that prior record was to I guess she could use as a possible defense on why she might have overreacted and been a little bit more fearful than she should have been as a 20-plus year veteran. But, you know, just the fact that the defense tried this, again, playbook that's often used was disappointing but expected. But more important, I want to commend the judge in this case for saying, again, acknowledging Daunte Wright's not on trial. And so we can expect them to continue to try to do so throughout this trial.